Good evening. The Toronto Raptors lose 106-102 to the Dennis Schroeder-led Brooklyn Nets. Third last game of the year. Close game. I guess you could say it's entertaining if there's really nothing on the line in this game, but I guess it was entertaining. A lot of nice guard play if you're into that. It's kind of a combo of guard play and blocks. I think the Nets had like 15 or 16 blocks or something crazy like that. But quickly flirting with a triple-double once again. I think it's probably the third time in his last three games where he's flirted with a triple-double. And probably, I'd say Gradey's most aggressive game. He took, I guess, 14 threes, one at the end there. He pump faked on that last three on the final play, which you're down by 4. You should probably, the fact that someone was in your area contesting, you should probably milk that and try to get a 4-point play, but, whatever. You want to be safe with the Grizzlies anyways, and I think the loss tonight, I think, locks you in with the Grizzlies, so, I mean, who cares? But, yeah, he had a few plays where he'd, miss a 3, the ball would get swung back to him, and he took a 3, on the same possession, which just, never see from him. He's always turning those down, so that was cool to see. That's kind of, probably one of the better times to take a 3. It looks really bad when you miss 2 of them, on the same possession, but right after you've taken a 3, you can kind of feel if you've missed it, what went wrong. And so if you get it right away again, you're kind of it's fresh in your body to make the adjustment. So it was cool to see him take a few of those. I think he kind of looked. He had in the first quarter. I think he had 5. He had 5 shots in the first 5 minutes. So he was really coming out, looking to be aggressive. And him and Quickly both played a really good game. Dennis Schroeder kind of took over the game at the end. I mean, you gotta be happy for Dennis, man. This is his dream. He's leading 11 seed, and he gets to be leading the team and the guy, and everybody's cheering for him, and this is all he ever wanted in his life. So you got to be happy for Dennis that he's in this position. He was diving all over the floor. He was getting rebounds. They were not losing this game. And Cam Thomas also, I like how he's kind of like OG or Kawhi. There's just no reaction. And for a high volume ISO scorer, that's kind of rare. He just hits all these shots and just is stone cold. He doesn't smile. He doesn't talk. He doesn't do anything. I don't know. It's kind of admirable, I guess. Nets playing on their gray court. I don't know. I've never liked the gray court. I never liked playing on weird colored courts when I was younger. There was a random elementary school that had a blue court. It's just what do you guys? It was a Christian school. It's what are you guys doing? I know basketball's not the main thing here, but I mean, come on, what are we doing here? Gary with the diamond glasses. That was a lot of Gary's fashion things are just, maybe I'm really sheltered, but I've never seen somebody with a basketball hanging off their belt. I've never seen someone wear a cardigan with no shirt under and flip it around at halftime. I've never seen diamonds on glasses in that specific spot. So I don't know, maybe I just need to get out of the house more often, but a lot of the time when I'm seeing Gary in these outfits, it's I've never I've never seen that before. So a lot of I've never seen those white sunglasses that he wore too, that white and black where he's wearing a waiter's outfit, but then there's some other kind of undertones to it. But yeah, so early on in the pregame, I noticed some really good chemistry with Kayla Gray as the host and Sam Mitchell and Leo Rollins. They were bantering really well, some self-deprecating humor. Just from that one segment, I feel I know Kayla Gray more than Cape Ness. You can watch Cape Ness for 27 years doing that hosting role, and I feel I learned more about the personalities today than maybe I ever have in my entire life. So that was cool to see. Grady's first 3 was over Dennis. Which, was over Dennis. We'll go back to the beach in a sec. I can't do it. There was a really funny play with, Malik Williams, he continues to get a little bit more leash, a little bit more run. His first few games, he would get 2 minutes, 6 minutes, and then lately he's been getting more and more shifts. Although it was really weird, not weird, but there was one of the timeouts Darko called was pretty early on. So Malik Williams misses like 3 bunnies, and then he randomly hits a 3. So I was like, that's cool. But then on defense, he missed a couple assignments. They weren't. I don't think it was. I mean, I'm not a coach, but it didn't look that bad. It just in relation to everything that's happened. But Darko seemed like really upset with Williams multiple times on those, and it's like, have you been watching like Jalen McDaniels or Jordan Wara? It just, I don't know. It seemed a bit like, I mean, it's good that he is trying to employ some level of standards, but it just seemed like a weird moment for him to kind of be in a tizzy when you've got other guys out here that. But yeah, and then also you got to throw in JFL. Another really good game from him. The 3 is looking really crisp. I mean, he had the one play at the end of the first quarter that was, you just never see that in the NBA. Like 6 seconds left on the clock and he takes the contested shot. It's just like the lowest IQ play I've ever seen. And then Garrett Temple like took him aside after like Gandalf and Frodo or something, and JFL kind of looked like bewildered as to like what, like, so that was kind of put that in your back pocket. That's a bit of a red flag, but he had a really good game. Like he was also aggressive looking for a shot, and his 3s have a ton of arc. He shot them like over contests, which pretty difficult shots, and yeah, he continues to be on an upward trajectory. I've noticed that McDaniels and Wara, I think, like seem to be friends. And from that post about the practice, about how they both kind of mail it in practice, it kind of does make sense. But yeah, just like I noticed they're like really chummy, and like McDaniels will miss a floater, and then he'll do like a behind the back. Like I think the Jalen McDaniels behind the back move might be the least efficient play in basketball. But like he'll miss a bunny and then have a turnover going behind the back. And then he'll just be like laughing and giggling with Jordan Wara. And then at the end of the game, when Quickly hits a huge 3, the whole bench jumps up and is like yelling and super pumped. And McDaniels is the only guy sitting down, just like. So I continue to just wonder what he must have some. There's something in his contract. There's some situation behind the scenes that he continues to be a regular person. He's like everything about him. It's not like he's messing up and then just like really getting back into the play. Like Williams messes up quite often, but you can see the drive is there. JFL messes up not as often, but you can see the drive is there. With McDaniels, like, I mean, it just kind of looks like he just thinks they're going to give him a check, which I guess they will. So I guess he wins. Smart free agent signing there. Yeah. JFL 3, more arc than ever. I guess he's worked on that. I don't remember his 3s being that arcy. And it even seems like his free throw has quite a bit of pop on it too. Somebody asked about Abaji's 3 yesterday. I did notice a little bit. He did another one of his left wing short left 3s, which kind of went off the rim and backboard. And yeah, not a lot of, speaking of arc, not a lot of arc on that. So maybe JFL can give him a little bit of arc or something. I love the Nets. This is like funny, but I like this, but it's also hilarious. So the Nets, like instead of championship banners, the Nets at their stadium just have like Jay-Z sold out 8 shows in a row or something, or like Notorious B.I.G. born in 72, like their banners, which, I mean, yeah, if that's like the Clippers should probably do that. Just like Tupac, born, raised, and whatever. May as well. So I did kind of enjoy that. Maybe my favorite moment of this game. There were some good moments of this game. Maybe my favorite moment of this game was Matt Devlin saying it's going to be fascinating to watch the Heat Raptors play back to back coming up next, with the word fascinating. I don't even know if it's mildly interesting, but apparently it's fascinating. RJ Barrett sucking on his finger at one point. I'll probably zoom in on that and put that in my next Gradey video. It's going to be kind of weird. But yeah, the like Nets, I think the Nets winning by 4, I believe that was their largest lead of the game. And I don't think the Raptors ever went like this was a weird game in that there wasn't like, I think 7-0 run was the biggest run, which is like weird in an NBA setting. and it was probably Dennis Schroeder. It was probably like this. This is like his championship. Like, I mean, 7 for 18 isn't amazing, but he was just everywhere, man. Like 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, just diving everywhere, 5 free throws. Kind of just really took over the game at the end. Like, he was not losing. And there was an incredible moment that will probably become a video where it was Abaji who backed down Dennis at the end of the third quarter, 3 minutes left in the third quarter. And there was like a rock the baby celebration, and there was a rock the baby celebration. And then you could hear, I couldn't hear exactly, the audio was kind of weird on TSN tonight. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, but I just heard the words baby out of there, and I'm pretty sure it came from Gary. And it was right after that play, and they're like looking at Dennis, kind of chirping at Dennis. And then, as the Raptors are like bringing the ball up, I guess they were still going on the bench, and Darko like walked over to Gary and was probably like, "That's my son." Like, I'm just guessing what he said. It was probably like, "Hey, I know he's on the other team, but like he's my firstborn." And so yeah, the you could definitely feel there was a little bit of that, like, just competitive edge. Has the kind of Dwayne Casey Pistons feel to it, where like this is like huge for him, and like this is what he wanted. He wanted to be a starting point guard on a team and be the guy, and you get to do that with, you know, Tremont Waters, who I always get mixed up with the guy who played one game for the Raptors, number 51. I don't know why I remember his number, but I don't know. It's one of the weirdest teams in the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets, the way they're constructed, and it's kind of the perfect team to, if you just want to be like the guy on a team. That's like the perfect thing to just like, you could just slot Dennis into that, and I'm sure he's having a lot of fun. He did have a lot of fun with Gradey. I think he kind of looked for that matchup quite a bit, and down the stretch was able to exploit it. And we've seen, like, you know, that was a pretty normal Dennis game that we've seen earlier in the year, where the threes really were not not vibing for him. Like, what did Dennis do from 3 tonight? 2 for 8 from 3. So, but it's just a lot of getting into the paint, finishing through contact, drawing contacts. 5 free throws. It felt like more than that, but you know, Grady's probably, for me, probably the main story, just because of like how aggressive he was. I think he's been like anti-chucker for, sometimes his drives are a little bit like oh, you're gonna go into like Victor Wembanyama and 3 guys behind him, like, okay, like he does that sometimes, but I feel like he's turned down threes pretty frequently, and like later in the year it's pretty obvious where the season's at, and him getting reps at 3 is like, not only getting reps at 3, but getting reps at 3 with like NBA defenders closing out at him. And they left him, a few of his threes were open tonight, but I still think, like, part of the reason why his threes, he gets more open threes than other people, it feels like, is he just gets it off so quickly and there's no hesitation. So like a lot of guys, most players, I think, it's not as automatic as Gradey, because he's also a movement shooter. So when you're coming off of a screen, you don't really have time to be, oh, am I going to take this shot? Or, oh, is this a good thing to do? Should I do this instead? It feels like he's really programmed into it. And even when he's like wide open in the corner, you see some people, when they're so open in the corner, they kind of take that second to be like, oh, wow, I'm open in the corner. But with him, it's the same. If there's somebody on him, if there's somebody not on him, it's just he instantly gets rid of it. So you're going to get more open shots like that, because the guy contesting you doesn't have as much time to get out to the shot. And then also, I thought the Brooklyn Nets played pretty good defense. I mean, I don't know if letting the Raptors score 100 is good, but they were trying. I mean, 14 blocks was crazy. And I thought that the Raptors adjusted well. Like, they took 40, they were getting blocked to shit, so they took 43s and shot 40% from 3. So I thought that was smart. I mean, 14 of those attempts are from Gradey, Quickly 4 for 11 from three. Again, he continues to kind of flirt with these triple doubles. I feel like every Quickly game is like 30 points, and then the rebounds and assists, it's like 9 and 7. So yeah, I mean, he, in a night with a lot of people out, him and Gradey really kind of carried the load, I think, especially for the starters. And then off the bench, Freeman Liberty, efficient game for him, 4 for 8 from the field. And what you really love, 24 minutes, no turnovers. That's because he was having games where it was like 18 minutes, 22 minutes, 4 or 5 turnovers, just drives that were just completely just chaos, just like pure chaos, where you get stuck. Because ideally when you're driving, you want to have an advantage. And a lot of his drives were like 1 against 3 or 4, and like maybe not 1 against 3, 2 against 3 or 4. And when you're in those positions, you really have to like live and die off of your ability to finish through contact. And he's like pretty good at it, but he's not like strong enough to finish through a lot of NBA contact. So now that he's added this 3-ball to the repertoire, which looks like his 3 looks really good too. Like it's mechanically like pretty sound. 2 for 4 from, I believe he was 2 for 3 last game. So 2 for 3, 2 for 4. I mean, small sample size, but when Evan Mobley does it, they call him Tim Duncan. So congrats to Freeman Liberty. Jordan Wara, 11 points, and then McDaniels gives you the patented 14 minutes, 3 points, 0 for 3 from the field. He's just not good at anything. Like, I know he's in the NBA, but like, I mean, in relation to people in the NBA, it's just like there isn't a standout skill. There's shooting, passing, dribbling, IQ, defense, on-ball defense, help defense. Like, is there? It's like, whoa, Jalen McDaniels. He's long, He's long and he's from Seattle. What else you got? Trash Clip says Quickly's last triple-double was against the Raptors on April 2022. That's really strange because like he feels like he's just 1 or 2 numbers away in so many games. So that's weird that he's never like cracked the jar. Says Gradey looks like Frankie de Jong. Is that the guy on the Dutch soccer team that looks kind of scary? Dutch people in general, kind of like Louis van Gaal or whatever. MSJ says I love when Dick is aggressive with his game. Yeah, because I think for Gradey, I mean, this is my Kendrick Perkins. Like the ultimate Gradey comp is like Klay Thompson. Not necessarily a ton of dribbling, movement shooter, really aggressive from 3, and he kind of played. I'm not saying he played to a Klay Thompson level, but he had that archetype for that in his game, and that's a lot of off-ball movement too. So, like one of the things the Warriors do, not to go down this rabbit hole, but when you move off ball like that, and this is what was also the problem with when there was no Quickly, when there was no RJ, when it was just those really kind of bench lineups. Gradey just got stuck in the corner, and there wasn't a lot of off ball movement. And I think he probably could have moved more, but it was also like, is there a point in wasting that energy when you know that like Jordan Wara or Jalen McDaniels or whatever is probably not going to find you like back cutting? And so it was kind of just him kind of relying on Kelly a lot of the time. Bruce Brown also never seemed to pass to Gradey. I've kind of talked about that before. But yeah, kind of nice to see Bruce Brown, in street clothes. That was kind of cool. I think he only, but I was going to say you should only play Bruce Brown against his former teams, but hey, he was on the Nets, so maybe he would have been good in this game. Trash Clip says McDaniels has a player option too. He can force us. Don't say us. You're gonna lose your MVP status with this. Gonna force the Raptors to pay him $9 million next year. Yeah, imagine getting $9 million to do that. Like there are a lot. 90% of players, when you look at the value of like how much money the NBA brings in every year, people are like, oh, the players are overpaid. It's like, well, who do you want to make that money? The NBA generates X amount of revenue. Like, do you want it going to like Adam Silver or like Steve Ballmer or Pat Frere or Scott Foster, or do you want it going to Gradey Dick? And I think with McDaniels, like he's one of the few exceptions where it's just like there's no way he's creating even close to that value. Like you're paying $9 million. Just think about like that as an abstract concept. Just like $9 million to. I mean, I guess just him being the size that he is and the fact that he's like able to run and breathe and jump. I guess there's value in that, but yeah, I mean. That's going to go down as one of the worst. Combo Breaker says, Gary out there looking like Miss Cleo. I missed that reference, but I'm sure somebody will get it. Jason Wynn, missed the game. Grady was beastie. So you guys are in here and you didn't even watch the game. That's actually impressive that you would choose to watch this program. Combo Breaker says, quickly at a few, who do you think you are? I am moments. Who was he talking to? I think any player at the NBA level is going to have, even like the Cam Thomases and the OG Ananobis who are kind of stone cold face, like they're going to have that rivalry kind of chip in them. And obviously Quickly and Dennis, I pointed out in a video, multiple videos maybe, that they had weird chemistry off the bat. There was like one game, it was I think Quickly's like first or second game. And remember, because Dennis used to get like 81% usage rates in the fourth quarter, even with Scotty healthy, and that wasn't enough, I guess. But he kind of did that tonight too. I was kind of thinking, I think I wrote that down actually. Dennis Schroeder, 81% usage rate ? Fourth quarter. But yeah, with Quickly, it's like, you know, they were both wanting to bring the ball up. They were both, and you could tell like they both wanted to bring the ball up, and then when the other one brought it up, the other one was kind of like all right, I'll go and I'll run to the corner and then cut through the paint and come out the other side, and yeah, go ahead, like you do. It had the bit of that. You could feel that a little bit. So yeah, I'm sure tonight there was one play where Quickly was jumping up and down, and I was wondering like, am I the only one seeing this, or is this going to be all over Twitter? But it was after a charge that he took. He was just jumping up and down really high, and it was a lot more entertaining than this stupid fucking cereal. Don't ever buy that cereal, whatever it was. If you buy that cereal, you're banned. You're banned from this channel. You're banned from the universe, from this universe. And then yeah, Gary, baby, out of there. And then yeah, you got McDaniels, man, like 540. Did anybody else see this? Like Quickly hits a big three. I believe it was to take the lead, and he's just sitting on the bench after. I don't know why he had like three. How many minutes did McDaniels play tonight? Feels like he played more than 4. What? Why is he playing 14 minutes a game? Anyways, you can just pencil him in for like 14. That's like low for him too. I feel like he's getting 14, 20, 21 minutes. It's just really bad. He did another one of those behind the back things. When he goes behind the back, it's like Jaylen Brown. It's like the kids that used to like pee at the urinal and they would just pull their pants all the way down to the floor. There's always like one of those kids in the class. And it's like you don't have to do that. When you're going behind your back, you don't actually have to like rotate your shoulders like you're on a computer chair and turn your entire body around. It's actually possible to just put the ball behind your back and then receive it on the other side, ideally with your other hand. You don't have to fucking turn into like a spinning top and then get picked every time you do it because you're also incredibly slow, even though you're a professional athlete. I could probably outrun Jalen McDaniels. Based on what I've seen, I put a compilation of him getting back on defense. It was the Pelicans and Rockets games. He doesn't really run. He does this thing where like he kind of crouches over and just kind of like he's on a Stairmaster or something, like going around like it's just like, what are you, like, you're not even moving correctly. Like you're not doing anything right. And then poor Malik Williams gets a mouthful from Darko for like missing a rotation, like a guy on a 10-day, Darko has to call a timeout, walk halfway on the court, and chastise poor Malik Williams, while Jalen McDaniels is just like doing literally fuck all and like laughing about it with other people. And yeah, two more games left. Miami, the Heatles coming up, back-to-backs. They got the Michael Jordan number retired, of course. What do you guys think of the Nets gray floor? I just don't like it. Just go with the wood. Just give me a wood floor. We don't need to. And if you're gonna innovate, is gray really like I just don't really get. I don't get the Nets branding really. It's just like gray and I don't know. I've said this before. The New Jersey Nets. You go on eBay, you look at old New Jersey Nets windbreakers and hats and stuff. Like they had at least something going there. I think a good podcast would just be like bring Jack on, and I was talking yesterday about like former Raptors that make content that I could maybe get. I love someone pointed out Terrence Ross was a streamer. I went on his YouTube channel. He has all the like thumbnail, like he's experimented with like. He's like one of those guys who's experimented with like I respect that. It's like he's actually like into the YouTube thing. So he could maybe be a good guest. I think Jack's just like trying to get him as drunk as possible and just ask him to tell stories about growing up in Brooklyn and just have like a little slideshow of like old 1970s Brooklyn, just talk about Coney Island and shit. I think that would be a great podcast. I just get baked as hell, have a bunch of stuff ready, show him like old clips from Brooklyn. And be like, yeah, I can't do a Jack voice. I can only do a Brooklyn voice if it's like an older woman for some reason, like an old Jewish woman named Sylvia or something. But I don't know why I can't do Jack. I work at Starbucks. My son Kevin Durant is such a good basketball player. McDaniels is Darko's second favorite son. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some. I don't know. There's is it like a big brother? Or there's something incestuous going on with father figures, or like there's nothing that makes sense. There's some gossip or because we know McDaniels likes to film things without people knowing. Did he film Darko like in the bathroom or something? Like I don't know what's going on. But they said on the broadcast that Masai and Bobby were there. I would just love to not that I have money, but if I had money, I would just somehow find a way where I could pay to be next to them and ask them just for a few seconds, just in the stadium, just like, so what do you guys think about this McDaniels guy? Like, how you guys feeling about this? To just get their off the cuff, candid, like that would be a great podcast. Just bring Bobby on here and just ask him like 85 questions about Jalen McDaniels. And Bobby would probably give me the Aaron Baines thing where he's like, yeah, my favorite Bobby quote of all time. I've probably brought this up too many times, but just like, I've been watching Aaron Baines since 2005 when he was at the Washington State Huskies in northeastern Seattle. Cool campus, by the way. I was 1 year out of the CIA. I was 1 year out of the CIA, fresh 1 year fresh out of the CIA, and being 1 year out, I just dove into Washington Huskies hoops and specifically Aaron Baines, and that's why we signed him to the Toronto Raptors. Like he would have some story about McDaniels, who's also from Seattle, by the way. So he'd be like, yeah, growing up in Hawaii, it's close to Seattle, and I've been watching Jalen McDaniels since like he was in the 4th grade, like LeBron with Scotty. Like I started watching Scotty Barnes in the 7th grade. Bobby would come on here and talk about like McDaniels putting up 58 points in like 2003 in like a elementary school somewhere. He'd have some trash clips. Bobby's going to put you on the CIA watch list. Yeah. I'm already on watch list. That's kind of why I went to South America. It was partially paranoia, but also I kind of did fuck around with people who have a lot of money. and I had a blog, and I kind of did a lot of investigative journalism around the crypto and cannabis, call them markets, if you could call them that, burgeoning industries back in 2017, 2018. Took a lot of market cap off. Me and a guy got sued for $500 million by one of these companies. It wasn't on my site, but I had my site, and then I went to work for another guy who was kind of doing similar thing, like ish, and he liked what I was doing, so he brought me in, and like he already had some juice on this company, and like I had some juice too, and so I wrote a couple pieces on his site, just how this company was basically, I don't know if scam's the right word, but really, really shady. It was a California-based weed company back 2017. And so I wrote a few articles about them, and then randomly employees from the company called like his website, like, contact number, because I guess we were the only website saying anything critical about this company, because these companies, they pay for all these like fluff CEO interviews. So all this fucking Bloomberg, Forbes, these companies are paying, sorry to pull back the curtain, but these companies are paying to go on these shows and do these interviews. And it's like a whole, and then there's the whole underbelly of like fake views and stuff, because a lot of these CEOs are like old guys in their 60s, and so Gen Zs will start like, invest, like a Jonte Porter website, invest your dreams or whatever. And then they tell these like old rich CEOs like, oh yeah, we got all these like traffic and all this stuff. And it's just like all bullshit, and they don't know how to vet it properly. So there's all that exists too. But yeah, these employees, they start calling us being like, hey, you guys are the only ones writing anything critical about this company that we're working for. So maybe you guys would like to know that they're actually garnishing our tips. They're taking money out of our bank accounts, and we have the transaction slips to show you that. And that very week, the CEO bought a $4 million mansion in Hollywood. And so I tied those things together, and then it kind of blew up, and they claimed that we shaved $500 million off of their market cap. And so when they sent us the cease and desist with like the lawsuit or whatever, it was a $500 million lawsuit. And this is like how I learned about journalism, by the way. And I was kind of freaking out, because I was like, damn, like what does that mean for me? $500 million. I have like $50 to my name. And the boss was just like, he was usually a pretty kind of grim guy. He was Australian, so it kind of didn't seem that way, but kind of grimmish. But he was ecstatic. He was super happy. He was like, this is great. We get to go through the discovery process if it goes through, and it's not going to go through because we're going to put every single word that the lawyers sent us on our website this morning, like yesterday. As like, he's like, everybody, he turned everybody in the office into like investigative journalists about this one thing, and we just started pumping out content about this company. And then they backed off and never went through with the lawsuit. And if they would have gone through discovery. And he's like, we would have put everything that discovery would have put on the website. And gave me some quote about like, never start a war with those who print in oil or something. And it's like an old thing where like, basically don't go after the people who print the whatever, because you as a big company have way more to lose than we do. So I learned a lot about like journalism, through that. And I wasn't lying about anything. These Bloomberg and Forbes people, they're the liars. They pay to get on. And then there's also this is the worst part of it, is like the quote unquote like investment blogger that will get a featured Forbes article. I don't know how it works with basketball, because I see some people who are like, oh, I write for this basketball team for like Forbes or something. I don't really know what that means. But in the finance section, you scroll down to the bottom of all this like sales pitch about how this 40-cent weed stock is going to balloon to 720 randomly. And you go down to the bottom of the page, and it's like, this article was written by this person, blah, blah, blah. And they own X amount of shares in this company. And they're only putting that because they legally have to. And it's like size 4 font. But it's like this whole thing was billed as this like impartial investment guru who's breaking down all their MD&As and cash flow statements and SAGRs and future projections and all that shit. And it's basically just a scam. So I got into the real teeth of how the system works, folks. And I'm telling you, this guy was there with me with the pink shirt and the glasses. This guy with the blue shirt was there. A lot of people were there. They know. Just want to go back to the beach. Fuck off, YouTube. I know you love advertising more than anything in the world. I've shut off ads to all my videos, by the way. So if you get an ad on any Raptor Moments video, that is YouTube doing its thing, which they love to do. Love a good ad. Don't you love a good advertisement? Don't you just love a good ad? Z Shrug says, I have a file on you. What do you have? What do you know? I don't think I'm that traceable. It was funny when I went to South America kind of on the run. I went to Colombia and I was in Bogota, and the biggest weed scandal ever. It was, if people, I don't know if people know, if this wasn't mainstream at all, but there's a company called Afria. It's a whole other topic. Based in Canada, based in like Ottawa, I think originally, but they really fucked around in South America and like used a subsidiary company to buy all these properties in South America to turn into weed properties, which is like, that in of itself isn't weird, but it was all the transactions being done through a subsidiary with similar shareholders, and a lot of speculation around the cost of these and the value of these. And so people were like posting photos of these like quote unquote weed dispensaries in Jamaica that were like lifestyle branded, and it was just a fucking house, or like a big grow op in Argentina. So it was a big operation, but then it was just like a shack. There was a lot of that speculation. But then one of the biggest like culprits or in question was actually located in Bogota. So I had just like tried to get away from everything. I go to another continent. And right as I was only there for like 5 or 6 days, like as I'm in the city, this massive news story of this Canadian-based company, like the third biggest player in the game after Canopy and Aurora back then, before Tilray and shit. I got lots of stories, folks. Jar, shut off ads. Do you hate money? Yeah, I hate that $14 YouTube sends me every 3 months for the shitty number. Do you realize how many views I think people don't understand that like people who make YouTube videos, paid by Twitter or whatever, they're making anything. Nothing. Unless you're like getting like Pat McAfee numbers or whatever. So yeah, I turned off ads because it's not worth it. I fucking hate ads. I fucking hate advertisements. Jar, you're also the person who told me to get a wife and a kid, I believe, which not to shatter your dreams, but that's highly unlikely. Troy Knight says, I think this is amazing. LOL. Yeah, we're having a nice time at the beach. It's April 10th, 2024. We're at the beach. I'm going to go for a swim in a bit. I'm probably going to move to Uruguay, I think. Try to get into like a third division basketball team. There's 39 of them in the big city down there. Montevideo. Gotta learn how to pronounce the names properly. Yeah, they got 39 basketball teams in the one city with like 1.5 million people, and 14 of them are the third division. So like the bottom. So you got enough kicks at the can, and then you got Buenos Aires. This is like 55-minute flight. It's like $60. You got another 19 teams there. A lot more, 12 million people, but just take some shots, network a little bit, wear the yellow headband around, see who I can get to know, conocer. Some good beaches. I've got La Paloma kind of scoped out, specifically a town called La Pedres, just like 20 kilometers north. Punta del Diablo looks cool too, and then that's really far north, almost by Brazil. I'm just talking about Uruguay now. You guys want to know about Uruguay? Cannabis is legal. Basketball is really popular. Lots of beaches, lots of surfing. Safest country in South America. Stable. Not that many people. Nice and quiet. You know what I'm talking about, folks. Good architecture. But yeah. Two more games left. Also, Grady kind of got clocked in the head. I don't know if people saw that by a fellow named Clowney. I didn't like that very much. I thought that was kind of clowny. There was a really cool play with Williams just like bulldozed Dennis at one point, and Wara and Dennis were like scrapping on the floor. Dennis like very physical in this game. There was a great play with Quickly. He froze a defender in transition because the pull-up three for him is a threat. So there was a play where he was just bombing down the floor. He kind of like faked as if he was taking a three. Guy bit, and then he just drove to the lane really easily. So the pull-up three is going to open that up for him too. People aren't going to know what to do with him on that. And yeah, him and Grady, I don't know if they necessarily like played off of each other specifically super well, but they both really carried a ton of, like, pretty much all of the Raptors offense for the starters at least. Claxton took his mask off at one point, which just that alone, that's like enough reason for me to wear a mask. Because you just the fact that you have something to rip off like that is like, that's just hard. Like that's, you got to respect him for that. I can't remember him with the mask, or can I? I can't remember. Yeah, I guess a hectic ending, kind of some fouling, some timeouts. I guess they were trying to, extend it out and I guess get the W, but not on the gray floor, not on the stadium that Jay-Z's 8 sold out in a row concerts built, not in Biggie's home. Could ask Jack about Biggie. Read some lyrics or something. I don't know. Troy Knights, is Thailand a good place to live? It's a very general question. You got to be more specific. Live in Pattaya. Yeah, Pattaya is like the worst. I didn't go there, but I mean, it depends. Like, so I would almost like, because saying is Thailand a good place to live is already very black and white. You could probably make it a little bit less black and white, and at least you got to break it into two countries. Like the north and the south are very different. South, you've got a lot more tourism. You've got a lot more beaches. Like all the kind of postcards, 90% of the postcards you're going to see are from the south. Lots of islands. You've got Koh Phi Phi, Koh Phangan, Phuket, Koh Lanta. Krabi's not an island, but it's in there. So you got all these islands. A lot of them have different vibe. Like Koh Phangan has like the really hacky like full moon party on one side of the island, where it's just like American, Australian, and UK teenagers just getting blackout drunk and doing like mushroom shakes on the beach. But then on the other side of the island, you've got the more like, hippie people living off of the land with like drum circles and doing ayahuasca and Wim Hof breathing and all that shit. So you can find all that down there. I was living at like a yoga retreat there in southern Thailand for like 7 months, and then I was in the north for 3 months. So I have more south juice than north juice. But the north is like, you don't have any beaches in the north. You're in the mountains. Your northern Thailand borders like Burma, Laos. I don't know if it directly borders China, but it's really close. And so you're kind of deep in the mountains. It's more jungly. It's way less tourists. It's quieter. You do have burning season in places like Chiang Mai, which the farmers in I believe it's March, they just like burn all their crops and then the smoke sits in the valley. So some maybe old primitive, the air quality might not might not be amazing. Even though you're kind of surrounded by jungle, it might not feel all that refreshing, if you know what I mean. Although how good is the air in Ontario? I don't know. I found it jarring from someone from the West Coast. But yeah, it really is like two different countries, and you can break it, off from there. Like Northwest Thailand, you've got, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, Pai, more of the, not touristy, but visited. Northeast, that's close to Laos, that's in Cambodia. What's that province? That's the poorest province in the Northeast. And then in the South, Phuket gets a really bad rep because there's like one beach called Patong that is kind of like a smaller version of Pattaya that's like really just the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. Just like ping pong shows, and just don't even Google that. Just really hacky. Like you'll hear like Smooth Operator or like Guns N' Roses or like Billy Idol, and they'll be like drunk Australians shooting like BB guns, and people handing you flyers to go to sex shows, and there's like carnival lights, and like the worst thing you could ever imagine. But then almost like everywhere else on the island is amazing, and tourists never go there because there's a taxi mafia. So like you got to pay $40 to even get into a taxi, and people are too scared to get a motorbike, so they don't leave this one little area. But if you venture out of that, like I was in a place called Rawai for 7 months, which is like 30 kilometers south of the really awful area of Patong, and it's just like quiet, beautiful beaches, white sand, green water, amazing food. Like the only tourists were there doing like Muay Thai or yoga, so you didn't have like the hacky, fake Versace thongs and stuff from some dude from Russia with a BB gun and some guy from Australia. So yeah, there's many different experiences you can have, I guess. But yeah. 3 Design says Chiang Mai is up north. It's beautiful. So yeah, actually Chiang Mai is like where so I was originally not going to go to Thailand. I was going to do Vietnam and Cambodia. I was like, Thailand is hack. Don't need to do Thailand. But then when I got to Vietnam, it was like so hectic. It's just so crazy. I just wasn't ready for it. I just wasn't like, or I just wasn't in the headspace. It was just like, so I had researched some quieter islands in Thailand. So I ended up going to Koh Lanta by way of like Bangkok and Phuket. And Koh Lanta was pretty boring. That was in the south. Just wasn't quite there. And then I went to Riley Beach. Some people say Rayleigh. That's like the prime postcard, like the Thailand postcard that you see with like the white cliff, limestone cliffs, green water. I got more sick there than I'd ever been in my entire life. It was actually during the Hillary Trump presidential debates. So I was just like in a cabin watching those for 3 days, like on another planet. And in my like days of like not eating for 3 days and being just like pretty much just felt like I was like fucked up, I booked a flight to Chiang Mai. I had no intention of going there, but I landed in Chiang Mai, and it was just like there's something here. It feels like something's here. And then I went to this like yoga place, met some people at the yoga place. They're like, oh, we're bloggers and we write online and we work for these people. I was like, oh, cool, blah blah blah. And then I went to some meetups with some other people who like made content for a living and lived in Thailand, or sold shit online and lived in Thailand. I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. And then maybe kind of regrettably got in with like the digital nomad crew, which was really cringy, but also kind of hilarious in retrospect. Probably a lot of material for a comedy film. But yeah, I stayed there for 3 months, got an apartment. The apartment had a couple like stray cats that I like kind of semi-adopted and spent my Christmas with, watching The Grinch on a 4-inch or iPhone 4. Cool, so there's a lot of experiences you can have in Thailand. But yeah, Chiang Mai's great. It's a lot more affordable than the south. Like the north is more affordable. I found the food was better in the north. I mean, these are like just wild generalizations. In the south, you're gonna have more Malaysian food, so you're gonna have like Penang and different types of curries that come from Malaysia. Maybe you might even get some laksa if you're lucky. In the north, you're going to get more of a Burmese influence on the food, which I love. I love Burmese food. So a lot of the restaurants that I ate at in Chiang Mai were Burmese restaurants. They're just like these little hole in the wall places where, like, if you're going to use the washroom, you have to walk into their kitchen and kind of step around big vats of boiling soups and stuff, and then you're using like their home washroom, and like their shower and is like right there with all their kids shampoo and stuff. Like that's like kind of how it is in Thailand. Most of the restaurants you eat at are like part of someone's house. Like you're eating in someone's like potential garage or on their front yard or in their driveway essentially. And that's like a lot of the best food that you'll have is doing that. And the only time I ever got food poisoning or sick in any way was when I was at that Riley Beach place, which is only resorts. So I don't know what resort I popped into to get something, but the only time I got sick was like the only time I probably like went to a resort. Every other time of eating in really just, I wouldn't call them sketchy, but just makeshift restaurants, I was completely fine. The food's fucking amazing. Like especially in northern Thailand, you just like money almost feels like monopoly. Like my apartment was $180 a month Canadian, all in, including internet, electricity. I mean, it was a new apartment. It wasn't big or anything. Like it didn't have a full kitchen, but you don't need it. Like you don't need it. I mean, didn't have a kitchen. It was more of like it was like an apartment, but it was just like one massive room with a bathroom and a patio, and that's all I really needed. Like it was like what do you call it? Like a studio apartment, basically. $180 a month, right in the middle, an area called Santi Tom, which is like between the walled city and Niman, and a lot of the people working and shit live in Niman, and then the old city has this like moat and a gate around it. Incredible walk. I would just walk around Chiang Mai forever. I would just walk around the moat, walk around the wall, just walk through the town, and you just get food everywhere because every dish is like $1. You're playing with this like monopoly money. If you don't want to get a motorbike, they have these things called song taos. They're these red trucks, and they just drive all over the fucking place. And every like seventh vehicle is a red truck, and you just hop on, and you just like pay whatever. But you pay, and then you just like get off. They take you to like where you want to go, but there's other people in there too. You'll get in, there'll be like 4 monks hanging out, and they all have iPhones, and you're like, whoa, you guys off the clock, like play with iPhones or smoke cigarettes or whatever. It's like, oh hell yeah, you really get to meet the people of Thailand that way. In the buses, it'll be like men, women, monk, and the monk they get the front of the bus. So there's some good perks being a monk. A lot of temples you can go to. I wasn't a big Garrett temple guy. Went to a few in Chiang Mai, a few in Phuket. But 3D design. Okay, here we go. Angkor Wat in Cambodia is a must-see. Crazy how they built those temples 1,000 years ago in the dense jungle, and then they all disappeared. Oh, the people disappeared. The Khmer. Yeah. Angkor Wat is amazing. I highly recommend getting so I got my own driver at the airport. Just like you're the guy, man. I didn't go on a tour or anything, but yeah, he rocked. Like he drove me to all the places because it's it's like Angkor Wat. It's the largest religious monument site in the world. It's in Cambodia, and it's 400 square kilometers. And like you can't like do gymnastics or parkour on it, but you can really like walk around. And I felt like I was the only person there for a lot of it, and I didn't go on any tours. I told my guy, like, I want to like, what can we do? This is why you got to get a driver, because then you can strategize. You can be like, how do we hit the spots without like, how do we hit the spots and miss a lot of the tours? Because you're going to get all these tour buses that are hauling around like 30, 50, 100 people, And so you get 2 or 3 of those buses, and it's just like it's like a crazy just flood of people. So yeah, I had my own guy. He would drop me off and then take a nap. He was super cool. I've talked about him in the past before. Like, we talked a lot about politics and his family, and how his mother was killed in the war, and how his dad like became an alcoholic and still is, and only talks about the war when he's drinking with his buddies. And yeah, there is like a sense of it. I remember like I went to this in Siem Reap. I didn't stay near the tourist place in Siem Reap. I stayed kind of further away. I got a deal. It was like an $8 hotel room. It was really nice too, but it was just like far away from the action. But kind of just walked down this street that had like a really brown, dirty river that people were like using, and it was like real stuff. And just like going in, and they're playing like all these like old dudes are just like smoking and drinking coffee and drinking beer like 10 in the morning, and playing like this like game of checkers or chess or something. And, just sitting there being like, man, like this is like, you're in it. I do kind of recommend staying away from the tourist spots. Like, even if you, like if you go to Chiang Mai, I really like Santitom, the area, because you're close to all that shit, but then you get away from it, and you can see like the real neighborhood, So yeah, that's my long answer for is Thailand a good place? Is that yeah, and then 3 Design says, yeah, better to hire a local driver than take a tour bus with random people. Yeah. And like my driver was like that was his dream, was to do this. Like, he was in his like Steph Curry mode. Like, this was his thing. Like, he grew up from a very young age working in the rice fields. Like, he spent his whole childhood, teenage years, I think he was probably about 30, and most of his 20s like working in the rice fields, saving up for a motorbike so that he could like do this or work in tourism or whatever. And so yeah, he was like living the dream. I remember his rent, because my rent in Chiang Mai was like $180 a month. Cambodia's even cheaper. And Cambodia, you can go for a year. And Thailand, you have to fuck around with your visa a lot. Like, I had to do 3 or 4 visa runs in a year. Cambodia, you can basically just go for a year. It's called a business visa. You don't need to have a business or anything. I think it's $300, and then you just get to be there for the whole year. And I don't think you have to pay taxes or anything. So, but yeah, I think his rent was like $120 a month or something. And I think with like the tip that I gave him, I think almost like paid his rent or something. Like, after 3 days of driving, and then gave him like a nice tip, I think basically like paid his rent. So better than being in the rice fields. He gets to drive me around, take naps. He was really funny, man. So yeah, there's lots of it's so weird having a driver, because like he drives you from the airport like to your hotel room, and then you're like putting your stuff in your hotel, and I'm like, okay, like I'm just gonna put my stuff away, gonna go eat, gonna walk around the neighborhood a little bit, maybe lie down for a sec, and then we'll hit the temples. And he's like, okay, and he's just waiting there. I'm like, no, you can go like go play Neopets or something, or go hang out, go smoke weed or whatever, do your thing. And he was just hang. He just waits. They just wait for you. So you got to tip him well. I took one bus tour in Vietnam when my first tour of Vietnam. I took a bus tour. Never again. I've never been a bus tour person. I don't know why I took this bus tour. I got talked into it by a shady businessman who I've also told this story, who also is the guy who booked me the fucking bus, like the goat, chicken, and a mail bus that I took in Vietnam, where like I'm on this bus with just like livestock and parcels and shit, and I could have slept 3 more hours and just caught the same bus across the street. But this guy got me up for that. He booked me into this like sand dunes tour, and so I'm on this bus. And so in Thailand, they actually used to give Chinese tourists brochures, on like how to behave in their country. I don't think they do it anymore. But it's, you can look it up. Like it's a real thing. I'm not making this up. Because they just have like different cultural, and there's a lot of Chinese tourists in Thailand, and you can just kind of tell like they like a lot of, when they're in like their big groups, like a lot of them will avoid the water, because I think the Chinese government tells you that like water will, like you're not supposed to fuck with the water or something. So there was this sand dunes tour. This is in Mune, Vietnam, and it's me and like 100 Chinese tourists. And so there's these like sand dunes and like a waterfall, and to get to the waterfall, like you had to walk in water that, I swear it was like this deep. It was like a river. It was this deep. It was really wide, but the water was like this deep, and I'm just like walking in the water. Like I took my shoes off. I didn't even think of it. I look back and there's like 100 people like contemplating life or death. Like I'm just like alone in this river basically. And then they just start they're just groups of them holding hands, like 6, with like their pants rolled up, shrieking, running through this river. And I'm like, I could have just come here by myself. I'm never doing this again. Like it totally ruined. It was this beautiful like valley, and it's just like, it was like, this is like the most hectic thing I've like, ever seen in my life. You're supporting the locals. Yes. By the way, I saw a fake Scotty Barnes jersey at the Siem Reap market. Oh, you were there recently. A fake. What market were you at? Where it's the one I remember most was like it was like just south of the like downtown kind of like drinking area, kind of along the river. I went on a date there. I took a date there actually, and I remember I learned how to say a couple things in Cambodian, like that's expensive or something. I learned those in Thailand. I would go to I learned like, oh, that's expensive, or oh, that's a lot. That's all you have to say when you go to a market in Thailand, is just like how, I forget kawadi kap, no, sabai mai, sabai. Start polishing off my tie here. I can't remember. Kun chu arai. I think that's where are you from. I did actually learn a little bit of Thai, but 3design says, dude, I'm Cambodian. I have family here. Do you know about the Happy Pizza? I learned about the Happy Pizza. Do you have any? Yeah. So you're in Cambodia. So do you have any juice on the Happy Pizza situation? Because so apparently, like you can cook with weed and that's legal. And so there's these pizza places called Happy Pizza, and they're like actually called, some of them are just called Happy Pizza, but it's kind of like this code word for there's weed in the pizza. And I've heard mixed reviews for it online, but I just thought it was really cool that they offered that. I think you get it in a shake too. And then, yeah, if you get fakes, actually, this hat, okay, funny enough, you said fakes. I got this hat. This is a fake, is it LA Hundreds or something? I got this in a market in Thailand. And this pair of underwear I got in a market in Thailand. So, and do you know what? Do you know how you've been to Thailand? So when you get your laundry done, you guys want to see my underwear? When you guys get laundry done in Thailand, it's a custom. They give you, this is how they tell the difference between the guests. They like sew these, like there's 2 colors. There's like yellow and blue. So they so all your clothes have these like things sewn into them. That's how you know you've done your laundry in Thailand. That's what I'm trying to tell. That's what I'm trying to tell you people. That's what I'm trying to teach here. 3design, Happy Pizza, only one spot, closes at 10 p.m. Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because it only looked like I was looking on like Google Earth or Google Maps, and there was only one. I mean, you may as well get fake stuff when it's like sports, especially when you look at like Fanatics, like MLB. Yeah. Wish I spent more time in Cambodia. I was only there for a few days. It, I mean, pretty much everybody you meet in Southeast Asia is really nice. I found I, f- I found like the Thai language to be really soft. Just like Thai, like though I was actually speaking Thai earlier. It's like Kawadi Kap, Sabaidi Mai, Kun Chuarai, Kampung Ka. Like it's like softer. And then I felt Vietnamese was like a little harsher. So there were times where I'd ask for directions and like a guy would be screaming in Vietnamese, but he was actually like trying to help me out. That took like a couple of days to get adjusted to. But yeah, all in all, like everybody you meet in Southeast Asia is like pretty much the nicest person you've ever met if you're from North America. It's just like a different like you go into 7-Eleven in Thailand at 5 a.m. and they're all like the 7-Eleven workers. They're all like giggling and happy, and it's different, man. I think they're a lot happier over there in general. I think people are a lot happier over there. Just day to day. Sawadee Kap. What's so it's like masculine, feminine, Sawadee Kap, and then Kap. What's the other one? Sawadee Kap. I can't remember. You do hear that pretty much everywhere. The other great thing about Thailand is like you'll be in a mall, like you'll be in a really ritzy mall, like the one in Chiang Mai was called oh god, it's like the best. I hate malls. I like avoid them. Maya Mall in Niman. Like there's a rooftop patio with like 9 bars and clubs on the roof. It's a mall. It's like a regular mall, but it has the best view in the city. You go up to the roof and there's all these like bars and restaurants, and it's like its own district on the roof of a fucking mall. And then on the top floor of the mall, like inside of it, is a food court. But even though it's like a corporate mall, all the food is still like cheap, good, like buffet, like market style Thai food. Like, I don't know, man. It's like, you can't beat it. Also, malls in Colombia have like yoga and stuff, which is cool. But 3 Design says Kop is male, Ka is female. Okay, yeah. Kop and Ka, Kop and Kop. That sounds about right. You'll hear that a lot too when you're there. Kop and Ka, 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 Kop and Ka. Everybody's smiling, everybody's happy. And you get back to Vancouver or Canada or whatever, and like you get on the train and everybody's just like, you know, like that. Yeah. You know. It's so depressing. Coming back to North America when you've been somewhere else is really depressing. But yeah, the back to backs, you know, they talk a lot about these players playing in these back to backs, about how difficult it is. Try having a back to back post game show where you have to stand in front of a beach and talk about your, you know, travels and stuff. But yeah, you know, it was a close game. Neither team was up by like more than 3 or 4 points. No big runs in this game. It was pretty back and forth. Actually, kind of a watchable game. I do think there is a potential video coming up that I could make about the Dennis Ochai kind of thing. I especially like that Darko walked over and tried to kind of like, that's my son. leave him alone. McDaniel's body language. Quickly jumping up and down was cool. RJ sucking on his finger was pretty cool. Jay-Z hanging the Jay-Z banners, the sold out shows was pretty cool. So there's some pretty cool stuff. So last 2 games are the Miami Heat. So any Raptor legends on the Heat these days? Is there? I don't think there is. I'm trying to think. I don't know, but we hit an hour. I'm gonna go for a swim here, and yeah, the Miami Heat. As Matt Devlin said, to close this out, as Matt Devlin said, at 5 minutes left in the second quarter of this game, it's going to be fascinating